It was a crowded evening in the old cafe, the kind of place where friends gathered after work to laugh, argue, and tell wild stories. Among the group was Armin, a man known for his arrogance and bold statements. That night, he leaned back in his chair, smirked at his friends, and made a declaration. "Mark my words," he said loudly, "the first woman who walks through that door will be my bride." His friends chuckled, some shaking their heads at his reckless words, while others egged him on, eager to see what would happen. The air grew tense as everyone's eyes turned to the cafe entrance. Armin was expecting a beautiful stranger, perhaps someone who would make his bold gamble seem like fate. He straightened his collar, rehearsing in his head the charming words he would say. His friends whispered, half in disbelief and half in amusement, ready to witness what might become either the start of a love story or a complete embarrassment. The bell over the cafe door jingled, and Armin's confident smile froze on his face. Walking in was not a radiant stranger but a woman from his past, Nyla, his ex-girlfriend. The same woman he had treated badly years ago, mocking her in front of others and leaving her without explanation. His friends erupted in laughter, recognizing her immediately, while Armin's face drained of color. Nyla spotted him almost instantly. For a moment, her expression hardened, remembering the humiliation he once put her through. But then, a slow smile spread across her lips. She walked toward the group, each step deliberate, as if fate itself had handed her the perfect stage for revenge. Armin tried to hide his unease, but everyone could see how shaken he was. "Well, Armin," Nyla said sweetly, her tone cutting like glass, "I heard your promise just now. The first woman through the door will be your wife, right? How lucky you must be." His friends burst into roars of laughter again, slapping the table and exchanging knowing looks. Armin forced a laugh, trying to play it off, but the mockery in her voice stung. Instead of letting him wriggle free, Nyla decided to take control of the moment. She pulled out a chair and sat down confidently beside him. "Tell me," she asked, "are you ready to keep your word, or were you just showing off like always?" The entire cafe seemed to go quiet, waiting to hear his answer. His boast had cornered him, and now he was trapped by his own arrogance. Armin cleared his throat and muttered, "It was just a joke, Nyla." But she wasn't about to let him escape so easily. "Oh, really? A joke? That's what you called it when you embarrassed me years ago too, remember? Always a joke for you, but someone else ends up hurt." Her words were sharp, and each one cut deeper than the last. His friends, once amused, began to look at him differently. Humiliation burned in Armin's chest. The man who had always prided himself on being untouchable now sat exposed, his past sins dragged into the light. Nyla wasn't just there by chance. It felt as though fate had given her this chance to flip the tables. For once, he had no clever reply, no charming grin to save him. Nyla leaned closer and said in a voice only he could hear, "This is the price of arrogance, Armin. You think women are toys for your pride, but look at you now. Laughed at, cornered, powerless." She stood up calmly, dusting her hands as though brushing off the last of his presence from her life. Then, in a dramatic flourish, she addressed his friends. "He said I'd be his wife tonight. But don't worry, gentlemen, I'm not here to ruin my life twice. Consider this his punishment." With that, she turned and walked out, her dignity intact and her revenge complete. The cafe erupted with chatter, everyone stunned by what had just unfolded. Armin sat in silence, his face pale and his pride shattered. The very words he thought would make him look bold had become a noose tightening around his neck. No one at the table looked at him with admiration anymore. Instead, they saw a man exposed, caught in his own trap. That night followed him like a shadow. Everywhere he went afterward, whispers followed. People retold the story of how Armin's arrogance had been crushed by the very woman he once mocked. He became a walking lesson in humility, and no amount of excuses could erase the memory. For Nyla, however, the night brought closure. She had walked in at the perfect moment, delivered her revenge with grace, and walked away without bitterness. She proved to herself and everyone else that strength wasn't in loud words but in quiet dignity and timing. Armin, on the other hand, finally tasted the humiliation he had once so easily served to others. And though he would never admit it aloud, deep inside he knew. Fate had handed victory to the very person he least expected, and it was a lesson he could never forget. In the end, the boastful promise of "the first woman to walk in will be my wife" became the very tale that haunted him forever, while giving Nyla the sweetest justice she could have imagined.